जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। 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 जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्योदरक्ष श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की। इस्कॉन बीबीटी संस्थापकाचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्योदरक्ष श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड श्री गिरि गोवर्धन की। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की। गंगा माई की। जमुना माई की। भक्ति देवी की। कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदायिनी श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की। कलयुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की। श्रीला प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की। श्री श्री रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश भगवान की। ताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So, I'll speak briefly on the topic of offering prayers to their lordships as part of our devotional practice. It is technically known as Vandanam, one of the 9 limbs of bhakti: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam. So Vandanam basically means offering prayers. One can offer prayers out of a sense of gratitude. When we are offering prayers out of gratitude, we offer prayers of gratitude when we experience prosperity, when things manifest the way we expect. And we discussed this a couple of days ago in our class here in the evening. And then we said that today we will discuss further on how one must express gratitude even when one experiences distress and calamity. The core difference between material knowledge and spiritual knowledge is that material knowledge helps us deal with problems and difficulties. Problems can be solved, difficulties can be managed, but spiritual knowledge helps us deal with crisis and calamity. And many times when we are dealing with calamities can neither be solved nor can they be managed. One only has to face them with fortitude, with patience, with tolerance. And that's the reason why spiritual knowledge is not an option, it's a compulsion, because each and every one of us will experience crises and calamities which are of an irreversible nature. And so it is described, Mahavipattau samsare yah smaret madhusudana vipattau tasya sampatti bhavet ityah shankara. In the midst of a great vipatti or calamity, yah smaret madhusudana, when one offers prayers of gratitude to the Supreme Lord, vipattau tasya sampatti, that calamity becomes the source of prosperity for that devotee, because a person then realizes the deeper purpose behind why I am going through this. Understands that the intention of the Lord is to purify me, is to bring me closer to Him. And that's why the prayers of gratitude are offered even when we are going through challenging situations of calamity. Maharaj Parikshit, he was attacked by Ashwatthama when he was in the womb of his mother. There was this Brahmastra, and this Brahmastra nearly killed nearly killed Maharaj Parikshit. But the Lord appeared within the womb of his mother in the shape of a thumb. Angushtam matramamalam sphurat puratamaulinam apivya darshanam shyamam taditvasa samachyutam. Lord Krishna appeared effulgent with yellowish colored clothes which were effulgent like lightning. Lord Krishna had bluish complexion, and Maharaj Parikshit was totally enamored by seeing this personality. Who's this? Who's come to protect me, save me, revive me? And when Parikshit Maharaj was thus born, he literally got a second life. And so one of the names of Maharaj Parikshit was Vishnu Rata, which means one who was protected by Vishnu in the womb of his mother. Tasmat namna Vishnu Rata iti loke bhavishyati na sandeho mahabhaga Mahabhagavato Mahan. He is known as Vishnu Rata, one who is protected by Vishnu. It was one of the favorite names for Parikshit Maharaj personally, because he would always consider his good fortune that I have been protected by Vishnu. My life is a prasad, is a mercy which is granted by the Supreme Lord unto me. Na sandeho Mahabhaga, there was no doubt he was extremely exalted. He was a Mahabhagavat, Mahabhagavato Mahan, and he was very, very fortunate. Nobody would imagine that such a person who was protected by Vishnu in the womb of his mother would suddenly one day experience a twist in fortunes. Parikshit is walking through the forest. As he is out hunting in the forest, he feels extremely thirsty. He enters into an ashram. That ashram belongs to one great sage whose name is Shamik Rishi. Shamik Rishi is deep in meditation. He does not see Maharaj Parikshit is thirsty. He does not offer the decorum of hospitality which Maharaj Parikshit expects. He does not offer him a glass of water. Parikshit Maharaj at that moment is overwhelmed with anger. And out of that fit of anger, he picks up a dead snake and places it around the neck of Shamik Rishi, and he leaves from there. And therefore, anger is considered to be one letter short of danger. Anger becomes our greatest enemy when uncontrolled. And so Krishna explains to Arjuna, Tribidham narakasyedam dwaram nashanamaatmanah kamam krodham tathalobham tasmat etat trayam tyajet. My dear Arjuna, give up the three gates to hell: lust, greed, and anger. And so Parikshit Maharaj was overwhelmed by anger. And actions performed under the influence of anger can sometimes be extremely damaging. I was giving a lecture in a jail in Pune. It's a very famous jail in India. It's called Yaravada Jail. It has all the life convicts and murderers and all of that. 500 prisoners were sitting hearing my lecture. I like jail program. You know why? Because audience is guaranteed. You don't need to advertise, you don't need RSVPs. They open 2 cells and then you have your audience ready. So I gave the talk and then I said, any questions? One prisoner raised his hand. He said, I have a question. I said, ask. He said, I want to come to the stage and ask the question. So I got worried. Because here is a jail with hardcore criminals. And it's not that they have done small time crime like pickpocket or something like that. They're all like murder convicts. So I asked the commissioner of police who was standing right next to me, who's he? Who wants to come to the stage? He looked at him and he said, oh, that guy. He has committed 12 murders. I said, am I going to be 13th? Why does he want to come on the stage? He says, don't worry. You have police protection. Nothing will happen. He came on the stage. He asked a very philosophical question, quoting the scripture. And the audience was, all these prisoners, they clapped loudly, thinking that there is a scholar amongst us also. And I gave the answer, and after that, I was intrigued, and I took him aside and asked him that you are such a young guy, you committed so many crimes, you never imagined what will be the consequence of all these crimes? And he shared with me that when I am overwhelmed with anger, there is a blackout. I can't understand anything. I lose my discrimination 100%. And then in the fit of rage, I would commit these crimes. Then he said, but looks like the Lord has a plan for bringing me to the jail, because in the jail everybody has to do some tasks. So the task allocated to me is translating books into the Braille language for those who are handicapped visually. And the book I am currently translating into Braille is Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. And then just after that we started a whole program inside that prison, and we had at least 30 to 40, 16 rounders amongst the prisoners for some time. So it's a fact that when one is overwhelmed with anger, one loses discrimination. So Parikshit Maharaj, he just put this dead snake and he left. But Shamik Rishi's son, Shringi, he became very upset and angry. And he considered that it was not proper for this king to do like this. He insulted my father, so he cursed him to die in 7 days and 7 nights. To be bitten by a snake, Takshak. When Parikshit Maharaj heard about this curse, he was at the peak of youth. He was at the peak of success. He was the grandson of Arjuna. He was a dear devotee of Lord Krishna. He was protected by Krishna in the womb of his mother. He is the one who single-handedly conquered over the power of Kali. He was the commander-in-chief of a huge army, and he had conquered over the whole planet. Everything was going well for him in life. Nobody would imagine that such a powerful, successful person with this kind of track record would suddenly have to face death in 7 days. And therefore, at that point, Parikshit Maharaj's response is very important. So just imagine, everything happened because of a glass of water. If someone says to you that a glass of water can kill you, you may say, hey, come on, stop joking. How can a glass of water kill you? Well, for Parikshit, it was just the glass of water. He was thirsty for a glass of water, and that became the instrument for his death. So the question is the glass of water lethal? Is that dangerous? No. The glass of water is only an instrument. When Krishna decides that time is up, he can use even a glass of water to send you the notice that time is up. Because he ultimately has the will. And therefore Bhishma Dev says, Aho kashtam aho anyayam yadayuyam dharmanandanaha jivitum narhata klishtam vipradharma achyutashrayaha. The Pandavas went through so many difficulties, so many disasters. Aho kashtam, they experienced calamities. Aho anyayam, they experienced injustice. To experience injustice is also extremely difficult. And one feels very angry that why I am going through this injustice. But Bhishma Dev says, Yad yuyam dharmanandanaha. What kind of situation and circumstances we will be put in, we have no control. We do not have control over our circumstances, but we have control over our consciousness. We have limited control over our circumstances. We have unlimited control over our consciousness. And that's the premise based on which all the spiritual traditions flourish, share their message with people that yes, You don't have to come to a temple or a church or a synagogue or a mosque to fix your business. For that there is another dimension. But when you are trying to understand that, yes, here is a skyscraper building and I am standing in front of the skyscraper building, I look so small. The building looks huge. It's a 40-50 story building. And if I look at that building, it looks so gigantic, I cannot decrease the size of that building. Sometimes problems and the calamities and crises which come up in life are like that skyscraper building. And when we start looking at the skyscraper building from the bottom up, it seems never ending. Where does this crisis begin and where does it end? It seems to be never ending. And that calamity and the size of that calamity may not be within our control to decrease. Just like a building, you can't just crunch a building down. It's there. But one thing you can do, when you are in an airplane and the airplane goes up 10,000 feet, from up in the sky, that skyscraper looks like a matchbox. That's what spirituality is all about. When you come to the temple and you offer your prayers to Krishna, to Rukmini Dwarkadish, your particular crisis and calamity may not be fixed. But your consciousness rises to such an extent that from that elevated state of consciousness, the crisis and the calamity looks insignificant. That's the whole idea of Krishna consciousness, and Srila Prabhupada wrote a book, Elevation to Krishna Consciousness, where you are elevated in your consciousness and look up. Otherwise, problems in the material world will continue and you cannot fix those problems. I was going to a program in Mumbai, and then there was this huge apartment building. And on the apartment building it was written, the name of the building, Sukh Shanti Apartment. And below it was written, under repair and maintenance. That's the situation in the material world. Prabhupada was in Mexico and his servant was massaging him. And the servant saw that mosquitoes are biting him. He turned to Srila Prabhupada and he said, Srila Prabhupada, I see that the mosquitoes are biting me, but I see the mosquitoes are not biting you. And I think, Srila Prabhupada, the mosquitoes are biting me, but they are not biting you because you are a pure devotee. Prabhupada said, maybe in Mexico the mosquitoes are like this, but in Calcutta they make no difference. So the nature of the material world is you cannot avoid calamity. Who heard the Bhagavad Gita? Arjuna. And a few days after Arjuna heard the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna lost his son, Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was killed in a very unjust manner. It was very traumatic for Arjuna. Arjuna was crying. Krishna came and stood right next to Arjuna. Krishna started crying. Arjuna stopped crying after some time, turned to Krishna and said, Abhimanyu was my son, I am crying. Why are you crying? Krishna looked at Arjuna and said, just a few days back I spoke the whole Gita to you, explaining how the soul is eternal. And you heard all of that, and in spite of hearing all that from me, you are crying. Seeing that, I am crying. And what did you understand? The difference between body and the spirit and the eternity, the eternality of the soul. So the nature of the material world is there will be calamity at the least expected moment. And that's what Parikshit Maharaj is experiencing. So what is his response? When he experiences this calamity, Parikshit Maharaj realizes that there are situations in life where we could respond politically. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, retaliation, political, strategization, all of these things is possible in certain situations. Political response. The second is emotional response. That we feel so depressed, we feel so cheated in the situation, we become hopeless in that situation. We just don't feel like doing anything. We just lose all hope. Right? So there could be a political response, there could be an emotional response, but Parikshit Maharaj says, in this situation when I've been cursed to die in 7 days and 7 nights, I would not resort to a political response, I would not resort to an emotional response. I would rather respond with devotional response. And that is what Srila Prabhupada came to establish by writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Mahabharata deals with political response, but Srimad Bhagavatam deals with devotional response. And our founder Acharya spent sleepless nights giving commentaries to the Srimad Bhagavatam to showcase how we can actually have devotional response to situations. Because sometimes when things happen against our will, we become agitated and we wonder why it is like this. And the default response is sometimes to act politically, to protest. So what does Parikshit Maharaj say here in this case? Tasyaiva meghasya parabaresho vyasakta chittasya griheshva bhikshnam nirveda mulo dvija shaparupo yatra prasakto bhayamasudhatte. Parikshit Maharaj says, I have gone through this situation of being cursed. What is the cause of that curse? Tasyaiva me aghasya, it is because of my sin. Vyasakta chitteshu griheshu abhikshnam. I am so attached to sense gratification and objects of this world, I would never give them up. Dvijashaparupo, in the form of this curse, nirveda mulo. Krishna is using this boy, Shringi, as an instrument to uproot my attachments. Yatra prasakto bhayamashudatte, out of that fear, I am at last coming and taking shelter of the Supreme Lord and preparing for death. All of us plan for our education. People plan for education, people plan for a vacation, people plan for their assets, for their property, for their career, people plan for weddings. People plan for so many different things in life. But Srimad Bhagavatam is revealing that apart from all the other kinds of financial planning, political planning, social planning, family planning, education planning, please add one more item in your planning list: death planning. Plan for your death. And when we say that, many times people feel, hey, what's this? Be positive. Don't speak negative. But it's reality. And therefore, as they say that, as sure as death. You cannot avoid death. And that's what Parikshit Maharaj is faced with. So, whichever language you may use, death is a reality. And we cannot avoid it. There was a man who was staying with his mother, and he had a cat at home. And this man went abroad for doing his job. So he called his friend and said, I love my cat. Make sure you keep telling me, how the cat is doing by sending me messages. And this guy goes abroad. After a month, he gets a letter from his friend. And the letter says, "My dear friend, sorry to say, your cat is dead." This guy is already in a different country, feeling homesick, lonely. And when he gets this message, he's so upset, he sends a letter back to his friend and says, "My dear friend, what kind of a letter are you sending? Is this the way to break bad news? Cat is dead." This is not the way. You should have sent me the first letter saying, "My dear friend, your cat is all right. Sometimes the cat walks on the terrace." And then you should have ended the letter. Then you should have sent a letter after 1 month again. "My dear friend, when the cat is walking on the terrace, one day it slipped and fell down and it got injured. We have taken the cat to the hospital. The treatment is on." Then you should have ended the letter. After 1 month, you should have written another letter saying, "The doctors tried their best to treat. And in the midst of everyone chanting the holy names, the cat departed peacefully, went to the heavenly abode." This is how you have to break the news, not that cat is dead. So after he sent this letter to his friend, the friend's letter came back again after a month. "My dear friend, your mother is doing well. Sometimes she is walking on the roof." So people say, don't talk about death. This is not a good topic. It's not for, civil conversations. Only doctors should talk about it. And that too, when the patient is in ICU. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is revealing that yes, all of us have to deal with this reality. Birth, old age, disease and death. And so Maharaj Parikshit, when faced with death, he says to all the sages who have assembled, "Api me Bhagavan Prita Krishna Pandu Sutta Priya Paitra Sat Sevya Prityartham Yad Gotra Syata Bandhava." Says, I am so glad that here when I am facing death, I am surrounded by sages. At that right moment, the best amongst the sages, Shukadeva Goswami has appeared to give me the medicine which I need the most at this moment. And what is that medicine I need? The medicine of Harikatha. The medicine of Krishna Katha, which will make me focused on Krishna at the moment of death. And then he says, you know why Krishna has sent Shukadeva Goswami to me at this moment? It is not because I am qualified. It is not because I am someone special. It is not because I deserve it. No. It is because I belong to the family of the Pandavas. And the Pandavas are extremely dear to Krishna. And so Srila Prabhupada writes in that purport, if you want to do the greatest benefit to your family, you can perform the greatest act of benefit and charity to your family by becoming a devotee of Krishna. And how does that work? When you become a devotee of Krishna, Krishna not only takes care of you, but he also oversees the well-being of the family, not only in this life, but several generations after that also. So Parikshit is saying, Krishna was keeping track not only of the Pandavas, but beyond the Pandavas, the grandson. And when the grandson is going through difficulty, Krishna is sending the help at the right moment. Nobody can manage this level of insurance. Krishna goes multi-generational. And therefore, when I joined, Hare Krishna movement, my family was initially bewildered. And they were not telling anybody what I am doing. Because many of my relatives would ask, where is your son? And they would say, he's in Mumbai. What is he doing? He's in Mumbai. What is he engaged in? He's in Mumbai. So one of my cousins then saw me on television. He was very inspired. And then he told my family we should organize a Gita lecture. Because amongst the cousins, nobody is a student of Gita and we would like to hear. So I organized a program and 100 family members were there in South, and I took one more devotee with me to give lecture. And then this devotee, he said that in the 7th canto Bhagavatam it is described, Trisaptibi Pita Puta Pitribhi Sahatenaga. Anybody becomes devotee of Krishna, 21 generations are delivered. And then he said, because of that, and he pointed to me, because he has become a devotee, now he is chanting the holy names, not only all of you will be delivered and go to Vaikuntha, 21 generations will go to the spiritual world. And all my cousins were like in bliss. And after the lecture, one of my cousins came to me and said, continue chanting Hare Krishna. Don't stop. If you have any problem, let me know. And we didn't know that your chanting of the holy names is going to help us. So Parikshit Maharaj is referring to the Pandavas and is saying, Yat gotra syatta bandava api me bhagavan prita Krishna pandu sutah priyah. So therefore all of you are spending quality time to come to satsang, investing your time and energy in chanting Krishna's names, practicing the process of bhakti, offering prasadam, bhoga to the Lord and honoring prasad, supporting devotional activities. Is it a waste of time? No. It is the best quality investment of your time and energy to not only protect your own consciousness, but also protect the interests of your family members in the best possible way by giving them the shelter of Krishna. Papini cha uddharite tara avatar jagai madai teho korila uddhar. Pratapratar Maharaj is saying, my dear Lord, you have delivered everybody, but why you are not delivering me? And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that I am a sannyasi and you are a king, and therefore I need to keep safe distance, and therefore I will not give mercy immediately. So Pratapratar Maharaj, who is a king, has all the opulence and power at his disposal. He says, Jadi se Mahaprabhu na pai kripadhan kiba raja kiba deha saba akaran. I take a vow that if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not give his mercy to me, not receiving Lord Chaitanya's mercy and association is the greatest calamity for me in my life. I have this kingdom, I have all the opulences, I have the wealth. I do not consider all of this wealth and opulences to be my prosperity. My real prosperity is to get the merciful glance of Lord Chaitanya. Kiba Rajya, Kiba Deha, Saba Akaran. And therefore, when we come to the process of Krishna consciousness and we come to the temple, we come with the desire to actually establish a relationship with Krishna, and that establishment of relationship with Krishna is the source of greatest prosperity. I was distributing Bhagavad Gita in the local trains in Mumbai. I showed the Gita to somebody, and he looked at the Gita and he said, this Gita is for free? I said, no, it is for 70 rupees. And he looked at me and said, Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna free. Why you guys in ISKCON are charging 70 rupees? I said Krishna spoke to Arjuna in Kurukshetra. This is Mumbai. 70 rupees is transport charge. So many times people wonder, what are these Hare Krishnas doing, distributing books all over the airports and here and there and everywhere. And Los Angeles ISKCON is one of the top book distributors in the whole world. So what's going on? Why are you distributing so much? Because when people go through calamity, when they are put in helpless situation, there is a tendency for them to feel hopeless. When one is discouraged, they feel depressed, they feel defeated. And therefore it is important for us to restore people's hope. We have no control over our situations. We may be put in helpless situation, but even in the most helpless situation, the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us how to remain hopeful and not become hopeless. And therefore, that's the power of offering prayers out of gratitude to the Lord in such situations. And so it is said here, Girayo varshadharabi honyamanana vivyatuhu abhibhuyamana vyasanai yatha adhokshaja chetasa. When there are huge mountains and rains fall upon those mountain peaks, when the rain and the thunderbolt lashes against the mountain peaks, it's painful for the mountains, but it is also cleansing. It cleanses all the dirt which is accumulated there on top. So when we as practitioners of spirituality, we go through difficulties and challenges, we should not forget that Krishna's father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, went through calamity after calamity, and they actually lost 6 sons. Krishna appeared as the 8th son, but before that, Vasudeva and Devaki, as parents, they had to go through the trauma of seeing 6 sons being killed in front of their eyes by Kamsa. Sadevaki sarva jagan nivasa nivasa bhutam nitaram nareje bhojendra gehe agni shikhe varuddha saraswati jnana khale yathasati. And then Krishna appeared in the womb of Devaki as the 8th son. And therefore Vasudeva is described as Tatascha Shauri Bhagavat Prachodita Sutam Samadaya Cha Sutika Grihat. Shauri means one who has demonstrated bravery. But there is no record of Vasudeva ever conquering anyone in battle with weapons. Why is he called brave? He is called brave because in spite of calamity after calamity striking him, Vasudeva refused to become hopeless, refused to accept defeat. And that's the paradigm of bravery in the Srimad Bhagavatam. However difficult the circumstances may be, however helpless one may feel in crisis and calamity, we should always seek strength in the power of prayer. To avoid feeling defeat, one must embrace dependence on the Lord. And that's why the temples and the satsang exists, to offer that inspiration to us. Maya dasi prema mage ithe ki vismay sadhu kripa nama bina prema na janmay. Thakur Haridas took shelter of the holy name in such a way that Maya Devi became Dasi and offered herself as a disciple and started begging for prema, What's so astonishing? Sadhu kripa nama bina premana janmai. Without the grace of the Vaishnavas and without the power of the holy name, love cannot manifest. And therefore Vasudeva and Devaki had to go through the excruciating pain of seeing their 6 sons killed. But they were hopeful that Krishna will appear. And that's the power of Krishna consciousness, where we remain constantly hopeful even in the most difficult of situations. I was giving a talk at IIT in Janmashtami, IIT Mumbai, many years ago, in the late 90s, and I spoke about this Vasudeva and Devaki pastime. And I said that there was this, voice in the sky, Akashvani, which warned Kamsa that, hey Kamsa, the 8th son of Devaki is going to be the cause of your destruction. He will kill you. And because of which Kamsa became so fearful and killed each of the sons. So after my lecture, one IIT student walked up to me and he said, I have a doubt. I said, what's your doubt? He said, the voice in the sky, the Akashvani said, 8th son of Devaki would kill Kamsa. So Kamsa should have kept Vasudeva in one jail, Devaki in another jail. Not even one son would be born. Couldn't Kamsa think of such a simple idea also? I said what to do, he didn't go to IIT. So we celebrate Janmashtami with great joy. And in the midst of the celebration and the joy of Janmashtami, we sometimes do not meditate that behind that festive mood of Janmashtami are the rivers of tears of Vasudeva and Devaki. And because they went through all of that trauma, they tolerated that helpless situation but refused to feel hopeless. And they got the strength and hope by their constant prayer and dependence on Krishna. And that's exactly what Lord Chaitanya tells Sanatana Goswami. Bhajanera madhye sreshta navavida bhakti Krishna prema Krishna dite dhore mahashakti. That yes, practice the process of navavida bhakti, the 9-fold process by which we can reconnect with Krishna. And out of that 9 processes, which is the best? Tara madhye sarva sreshta nama sankirtan nir aparadhe nama loile paye premadhan. Out of the 9 processes, the most effective is chanting the holy names of Krishna offenselessly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And therefore, I will conclude by sharing that yes, we will go through episodes of prosperity in our life, but we will also go through various kinds of calamities. We should offer our prayer of gratitude when in prosperity, and we should offer our prayer of gratitude even in adversity, because the purpose of human form of life is not to pray to the Lord to enhance prosperity or diminish adversity, because that kind of a thought process of constantly being obsessed with increasing the prosperity and decreasing the adversity is what is known as anxiety, chinta. And the opposite of chinta or anxiety is chintan, which is meditation. And therefore we should always meditate when we come in front of Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish. Whether we are put in prosperity or whether we are put in adversity, my dear Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish, please engage me in constant service at your lotus feet in any situation. And that is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also taught, that please engage me in your service life after life. So I'm very grateful that all of you are taking a lot of interest in coming closer to the family of Shri Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish, and I'm grateful to His Grace Swavasa Prabhu, the temple president of ISKCON Los Angeles Rukmini Dwarkadish temple for more than 4 decades, for his stellar leadership and example, and to all the other wonderful Prabhupada's disciples who are setting a fantastic example of very, very powerful Krishna consciousness, and to all of you for being part of this wonderful family. And thanks for inviting me for this afternoon. Hare Krishna.